The Ashes are about to kick off. Convicts versus Crusaders, Aussies versus Poms, Australia versus England. The fiercest and longest rivalry in cricket for the most prestigious trophy in cricket. Last time Australia and England, they retained the Ashes by drawing the series. They then went home to Australia and absolutely smashed England, and now they're coming back to see if they can win their first Ashes since 2001, in what will most likely be the last England tour for a lot of the Australian side. So this is their last chance to cement them as one of the great Australian teams. England, on the other hand, are coming out of one of their worst periods of Test cricket, but they have been absolutely flying since the introduction of baseball. But the question still remains, does it work against our boys? There's been some massive news coming out of both camps recently, but we're going to start with England as they've been most affected by all this. So who would have thought, of all people, Jack Leach is the biggest piece of news leading up to this first test. If you haven't heard already, I think it was stress fractures to the back. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Jack Leach is out for the all of Ashes. And if you just pictured Jack Leach maybe 2 or 3 years ago and you said he would be a late exclusion from the 2023 Ashes, I don't think any supporter, not even me being Australian, but I don't even think any England supporters could think, oh, he's going to be a massive loss. But so far, he's the only player to play every game under Brendan McCullum. He has become almost a staple in this side, whether that be lack of better talent. I don't know if that says much about the amount of spinners coming through England ranks at the moment, although this next piece of news will definitely confirm that. I don't know what it is, but Jack Leach has turned a corner. He's been one of the first names on the team sheet. He is now gone for all of the Ashes. And would you believe who they have brought back to the side? I'm sure everyone would have heard by now, but Nathan Lyons Bunny, aka Moeen the Dream Ali, is back. That's right, they've actually called him up. They made contact with him and asked him to come out of retirement to play for the Test team. Now, I'm sure there's many different opinions going around, and even myself, I'm actually pretty divided on the opinion. But if you push aside the politics and what it does to the dressing room and all of that, on paper, I don't actually think this is the worst decision they've ever made. So my reasons being why this isn't a complete awful decision is that he has the experience. He's played 64 Test matches. He has taken 195 wickets. He has played in Ashes before. He has played against Australia before. He knows how important the Ashes are. He knows what a big game it is. He's been there. He's done it all before. The other reason why I think he potentially could be very handy is that for a number 8, he averages 30 and he can score quickly. So I guess he kind of fits in with the whole Baz ball scoring quickly. He can up the run rate at the end of an innings if need be. So he's a very, very handy batter for a number 8. Then we start getting into the reasons why picking Ali wasn't the best idea. So I was talking about him averaging almost 30, but then when you have a look at his previous record against Australia, it isn't too crash hot. And the same goes for his bowling. He averages somewhere in the 36 mark. He's taken 195 wickets, averaging 36. But then if you look at his performances against Australia, he averages almost 64. And just from an observational point of view, I don't know if he's going to have that cutting edge to really get into the Australian attack. I'm sure he's going to get utilised well. They're going to bowl him a lot of overs. But is he someone that you can bring on to take a quick wicket or two? Or is he someone that you can bring on to contain runs and stop the run rate? I'm not sure if he is the guy to do that. But at the same time, they do have a little bit of a problem where who else are they going to bring in? And this kind of leans into another point that I was getting at. And this is why I wanted to say, excluding politics and all that, it's an all right decision. But if you really think about it, what does that say to players like Dom Bess that have been working like crazy to get into this side? And then when you think you're a little bit of a chance with the Jack Leach injury, they've actually gone out and contacted a retired player that said, I don't want to play Test cricket anymore. I've had enough playing Test cricket. What message does that give to the upcoming players that instead of chancing their arm on a younger player, they'll rather go back to an old player that wasn't even... It's not like we're bringing back Don Bradman here. We're bringing back Ali, who averages 36 with the ball, and to be fair, averages 28 with the bat. Pretty good. But what message does that send to the younger players it just means they can't rely on them, and it means they've got no confidence in them. And I don't know if bringing back retired players is sending out the best message to the team. But who knows? Now that I've said this, he's going to score 100 and take FIFA. But in my head, I'm not sure if he's the best player, but at the same time, I'm not sure what other spinners they have to take his place either. But let's move on to the rest of the team. So England have actually released their full lineup. And I've got to say, releasing your full team a full 2 days out from the game, is that some mind games? What in the alpha is going on here? Is that trying to get in the head of Australians? Because it's worked. I'm intimidated. They had injury problems. They had selection problems. Yet they've still managed to spit out their team sheet 2 days before the game. And funnily enough, actually, it's rumoured that Marnus Labuschagne was having a net facing quick bounces at his head, presumably from what Mark Wood would be bowling, and they've released the team, no Mark Wood in there. So, brilliant alpha play from England. I've got to give my hand there. I tell you what, intimidation factor right there. But the full team lineup is as reads. There's Duckett, Crawley, Pope, Brooke, Stokes, Bairstow, Moeen, Broad, Robinson, and Anderson. Now, I really hate to say it, but that is a decent looking team. Duckett is in the form of his life. I mean, his position is pretty much locked in. He has looked absolutely great under Brendan McCullum, really turning a corner, putting on big runs, so he definitely deserves to be there. Crawley, on the other hand, I mean, I'm not sure what's going on with him. To everyone that's watching on, it seems that he has some flaws in his technique. He's nicking off. He's getting bowled between the gate. The coaches obviously think different because he's pretty much been selected for the last 2 years straight based on nothing. I mean, he hasn't produced any crazy scores. His average is up there with one of the worst averages of an opener. He just must be a great net batter. I feel like if you've played cricket, there was always one bloke at your club that was absolutely amazing in the nets and then would capitulate on the weekend. And I feel like Crawley is just that guy. He must be unreal in the nets. He's smoking Anderson around. He's smashing Broad around. But when it comes to the game, he just can't seem to turn these scores into big scores. He just gets a start and gets out. Yeah, I'm not sure why he's in the team. I honestly thought they were going to promote Brooke and then have Bairstow up the order and bring in Folkes, but they've opted to go with Crawley. Then you have Pope, who is looking absolutely amazing. He's, again, turned a corner massively and is looking like a proper number 3 and is batting really well. Obviously, he's coming off the back of a double century, so he's probably full of confidence. He's in the side. Root's probably England's best ever batsman. I don't know if that's going out on a limb, but obviously he's in the side. Stokes, and then Bairstow is back as well. Obviously, he was injured for a long time, out of the team, and they've brought him back. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. I thought they would bring him back as a batsman. They've decided to bring him back as a keeper and drop Folkes, which to me is absolutely insane. I mean, what more can Folkes do? He's by far England's best keeper. There's no doubt about that. He is England's best keeper. You see him behind the stumps, taking catches, getting stumpings. Absolutely class. They told him, the coach has said, go out and improve your batting. He's done that. He's played in test matches. He's scoring runs. He's getting runs in county. What can he do to get in the team? I mean, if Folkes has just got to be sitting there scratching his head. He has done everything right, and I'm extremely surprised to see he's not in the team. In my mind, I thought Crawley would get dropped. They maybe throw Brooke or bring in another opener. I thought they were probably going to shuffle up Brooke and then keep Folkes as the keeper and put Bairstow in as a number 5 or a number 6. And then we get to the bowlers. And this is, again, a little bit surprising. I thought either Robinson or Broad wouldn't play and Wood would be in. Sheely for his pace. I mean, they're full of swing, full of seam. They've got Anderson, Broad, Robinson. I thought, and obviously Stokes as well, I thought they were going to have Wood. I honestly thought he can bowl 150 Ks. He can ruffle the feathers of the Aussies. I thought they were going to have him in. Sheely for that, I guess, X factor. I hate that word. That's what every commentator... But he brings that X factor. He brings the pace. He's scary to face. I thought he might have made the side ahead of Robinson. I guess at the end of the day, they just wanted to bring their best bowling attack. And Robinson is a very good bowler, in my opinion. So I don't think it's necessarily negative. I was just surprised because I thought they would play Wood. Also, make sure to comment down below what your team selection would have been for England. What would you have changed? What would you have kept? Have they done well, or have they absolutely butchered it? And now we get to the Australian side. And to be honest, there isn't anything really exciting coming out of the Australian camp. I mean, the only thing that has really made headlines over the past few days is this making a story about Usman Khawaja and about the Australian team, about how they didn't spray champagne bottles all over each other, and how, oh, what kind of culture is this creating? Where just because one Muslim person is there, why can't they spray champagne everywhere? That is the biggest news coming out of the Australian camp, which is no news. I mean, I don't want to touch on it too much, but have they thought that maybe the rest of the Aussies thought, maybe we can sacrifice getting soaked in champagne for 5 minutes and do it to the side where Uzi isn't. And maybe we can just have a beer after the game like we would after any other win, just without the champagne. Talk of bottom of the barrel journalism, that is it at its finest. But the first person on my predicted lineup is obviously the Diet Coke King himself, Usman Khawaja. He'll be opening the batting. He was the top scorer in the World Test Championship. He had an average of 70 odd. He didn't play great in the last game, but he will be on the team for sure. Then we get to Warner. And to be honest, the only person that is ridiculed more than Warner is the opener on the other team, Crawley. We both seem to have opener dramas at the moment. But I imagine Warner will be in the team. Whether he deserves it or not, that is another conversation to have. The problem is, obviously, there is Harris and Bancroft in the wings. But they've both had test experience, and they've both they've not performed at the level they're expected to. So it's a bit of a hard transition phase where they're not sure when to bring him in. But at this point in time, I think Warner stays in the team unless he fails for the first few innings. He may get dropped later in the series for Harris. But for the moment, he is definitely in the side. And Warner also has this uncanny ability. Whenever he's close to getting dropped, he always pulls 100 out of the bag. I mean, last time was his 200 against South Africa. We all thought, this is it. He's done here. And he pulls out that double ton, cements his spot for the next tour. And then we get onto the terrific trio of Marnus, Smith, and Head. They are ranked number 1, 2, and 3 in the world. For the first time, I saw some stat, I think for like 80 years, touching on 100, that 3 batsmen from the same team are ranked number 1, 2, and 3. They are all amazing batsmen. Marnus and Head, I think, Marnus and Smith, I think we all knew their ability from previous tours. And Head as well has just come so far in the last couple of years, to a point now where he is almost one of the most important batsmen in the side. I said it last video, but his ability to counter-attack, put pressure back on the bowler, especially after losing a couple of quick wickets, which Australia love to do, it's unbelievable, really. He just doesn't seem to feel the pressure of big games, and he comes in at times where if he goes quickly, Australia in a terrible spot. And he's consistently scored runs under pressure. So hopefully after Smith scoring 100, Head scored 100, Marnus has been scoring runs in county. They're all on hot form. Please just let it continue. And then we move on to probably the hottest prospect in all of cricket, Cam Green. This is going to be a massive series for Cam Green. I think he has obviously proved that he's a great bowler and a great batsman, but are we going to see it all come together? He is still very inexperienced. I think people need to remember he's still so young and has only played a handful of games. His batting at times has looked absolutely amazing, but at times as well, it seems when he's not able to score runs freely, he does struggle a little bit. When he gets put under pressure, when he gets contained, he does seem a little bit nervous, a little bit edgy, which is something completely normal for a player of his age. It's something completely normal for a player that's only played a handful of games. I've got a little bit of a feeling with him that he might just go huge and fulfill all the potential that we are promised, or he may just have a dud series. Now, I know that sounds a little bit negative, but I feel like it's going to go either one or two ways. And I feel the same for Harry Brook in the England squad. With young players like that, inexperienced, when they get to an Ashes, you never know what you're going to get. And then we have Carey in the team. No arguments there. Australia's best keeper, and his batting is really coming along. I just am praying to God he gets rid of that reverse sweep. My God, The amount of heart attacks, the amount of nerves I have watching him bat is unbearable at times. But he's a great batter. He knows what he's doing. He is Australia's best keeper in the country by a mile and definitely deserves to be in the side. The problem with Australia's side is their bowlers, and it's a good problem because they've now got the issue of the man whose statue is going to be built in every city in the world when he retires, firing on all cylinders. And they've just announced that Hazel is fully fit, ready to come back. My thoughts are, and I hate to say it, I got a feeling Boland's going to get dropped. I don't even know what I want. I think potentially maybe keep Boland, drop Stark, bring in Hazelwood, purely based on the conditions. But if you do that, then you lose the variation of Mitchell Stark bowling left arm and obviously bowling a little bit quicker as well. But my feeling is they're going to drop Boland and they're going to bring back Hazelwood. They seem to always go back to what they know works and stick with that. And unfortunately, Boland, who has not put a foot wrong, he is averaging something like 15 in test matches. He is taking wickets against top teams, but I think they're going to drop him for Hazelwood. It hates me to say this because he does not deserve to get dropped in any way. But I've got a feeling they're going to bring back Hazelwood and get rid of Boland. So there is all the team news for both sides. I'm going to be trying to live react and react every day or two of each test. The first test kicks off tomorrow night where Australia start their campaign to smash the Aussies 5-0. And we'll see if I have that confidence in 2 days' time.